and cultivating a culture of wellness. Today, we have the honor of sitting with Rachel Dolcine, who will be supporting and presenting for us on this very, very important topic. Checking in with Adam to see if you want to do the BCYF introduction.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Peace and blessings, and welcome to today's TA session on creating and cultivating a culture of wellness. My name is Adam Jackson. I am the communications lead for the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund. I want to welcome you this morning, this beautiful, cloudy but warm morning here in Baltimore. We deeply appreciate you being present here today. Just a little bit of information about the Baltimore Children and Youth Fund. It's an independent nonprofit organization that stewards public funds from Baltimore city government to invest in Baltimore's young people and their families. And so part of today's TA session is a part of a series of events. We call them technical assistance sessions, and there's a variety of technical assistance you can receive in relationship to the Grassroots Fund that was recently announced in March of this year. And so if this is your first time attending a technical assistance session, I just want to make it clear that you can attend not just this session, but also get one-to-one support via our one-to-one appointments. And so you can also come to in-person to get in-person technical assistance later in the coming weeks. And so I want to encourage folks to sign up and attend those technical assistance sessions. And also, I'm assuming if you're here, you also have heard about the Grassroots Fund, the recent request for proposal that was announced in March as well. And so for the Grassroots Fund, it's a very straightforward explanation of what it is. It's investment for local organizations and community-based organizations that serve young people. It's only 3 preliminary requirements. You have to have a budget under $250,000. You have to have a 501c3 organization, or you have a fiscal sponsored organization. And the last, of course, and the most important is that you are based in Baltimore and serve Baltimore's young people. And so we highly encourage you to apply for the Youth Fund, for the Youth Fund's Grassroots Fund. The grant awards, I think, will be about approximately at least 30 awards. And it'll be $150,000 over the course of 3 years. And so we're encouraging folks to apply and to come to these TA sessions to get all their questions answered about the Grassroots Fund, and to generally just try to get support any way they need for their organization that serves young people. Apologize for being outside. I was heading my way into work today, and so I was like, I had to make sure I get on camera so you can see my face, so you can hear birds chirping in the background or whatnot. I feel like it's very appropriate on a spring day here in Baltimore. But I deeply appreciate you all being here today. And I'll be around during today's session if you have questions pertaining to the Grassroots Fund as well. In addition to, I know that Rachel will also be around as well for Q&A after today's session. So really appreciate everyone for being here. And I'll kick it to, kick it to Rachel so we can get started.
Thank you, Adam. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, Kieta. Thank you both for being here this morning to support this workshop. So before I get started with saying anything about creating and cultivating a culture of wellness, I would like to set the tone for today's workshop. One of the things that I used to do with my staff before any meeting started is I would give them a moment to sit quietly, a couple of seconds to think about what is one thing that you are grateful for in this moment, right now, wherever you are, in your car, at your desk, still in your pajamas, in your bed, drinking your coffee, whatever you are doing in this moment, what are you grateful for? So I want to give each of you a couple of seconds to think about that. One thing right now that you are grateful for. If you want, you can place what you are grateful for in the chat. You don't have to, you can just kind of think about it and rest on that. But if you would like, you can place what you are grateful for in the chat. And when time is up, I'll check the chat and I'll read a few, if there's anything posted, I'll read a few of the comments. So what are you grateful for in this moment? All right, give you about 30 seconds. All right, so my timer has gone off. And let's go to the chat and let's see what you are grateful for right now. Great. All right, let's see. I'm grateful for being able to train my fraternity brother and help him on his health journey. Absolutely, Joshua, that is indeed a blessing. The opportunity that we have to be healthy and have many, many chances, even when we mess up, to start over towards our goal of health and to have support in doing that. Wesley, grateful for the chance to go for a morning walk with my dog. Yes, absolutely. In so many communities, folks cannot go for walks because the community is dangerous, or other challenges are in the community. So something as simple as the chance to go for a morning walk with a beloved pet, absolutely. Waking up this morning, yes, kid, another day, and I know it's Tuesday, it's a little gloomy, but yes, we're waking up another day to make this world amazing. This world could not be what it is without you, Kieta. So I am also grateful that you woke up this morning. And then Adam says warm weather. Yes, the weather is warming up. And for those of us who are spring people like I am, right before summer, this is wonderful, wonderful time of year. So awesome. So one of the reasons why I would do this particular activity before every single meeting, it didn't matter what the meeting was about. I would start the meetings with this grounding activity. It is so easy to think about the things that are going wrong, whether it's at work or in our lives, and to become overwhelmed by those things. And so taking a moment in your most stressful time, in the time when you feel most defeated, in the time when you feel most overwhelmed, when you feel the least worthy, taking a moment to sit and think about one thing you are grateful for in that moment can really be helpful. The other reason why I did this is I didn't know what my staff were carrying or what they were coming to the meeting with. They may have been stuck in traffic and gotten frustrated. They may have had a difficult morning at their site. There may be things going on in their personal life that I didn't know about. They may have a terminally ill loved one. They may have a child they're worried about. I did not know what all my staff were coming to the table with, because lots of times staff don't share their whole life with you, right? And so I wanted to create this space, this safe space where they knew that they can come as they were, just show up as you are, and really have this moment to ground yourself, really have this moment to recalibrate. Whatever happened in between you closing your site in the morning and or coming from your home and getting to the place, whether it's a virtual space or an actual space of having a meeting, I wanted to create this really safe space, not just safe, but relaxing, a space where folks can know that they can just come as they are. You didn't have to do any type of prep work or put yourself together. Just come as you are, because once you get here, there's a space waiting for you to recalibrate, to refresh yourself, right? Because we're in the business of people. Yes, nonprofit is a business, as I say all the time, but we really are in the business of people and cultivating people and helping people and mentoring and helping people get well, as Joshua mentioned for his friend, right? So today we're going to talk about creating and cultivating a culture of wellness. It is not just good to create a culture of wellness, but you got to cultivate it, right? What you feed will grow. Oops, going a little too fast. I think I can go back. All right, so a little bit about Grow Charities. I am a licensed nonprofit consultant with Grow Charity Events. Grow Charity Events supports Black, Indigenous, people of color, BIPOC, led and BIPOC serving nonprofit organizations. And we do that in several ways: event planning, organization and program development, which is part of what we are doing here, racial equity and inclusion training, professional development, and wellness workshops, also part of what we're doing here. And why do we do this? Why is this important? Because our goal is to decrease the impact of trauma and dismantle systemic racism within philanthropy and the nonprofit sector. Really, really important, especially if you work within BIPOC communities. It's really important to understand what systemic racism looks like so we can begin to dismantle it. Also, I want to take this opportunity really quickly to invite you to the Visionaries of Color Conference. It'll be May 14th from 9 to 5. It is online, so you don't have to drive anywhere and look for parking, but this is the perfect opportunity to be in a space with other visionaries of color, with other nonprofit leaders of color, as we sugar share, as our founder Shalita calls it. As we share resources, you're going to learn, you're going to hear from some elders who've been in this work a very long time. You're going to walk away with tools, resources that you're going to need, not just to for your own professional development and to help you become a better nonprofit leader, but also will be helpful as you grow and build your organization and as you serve your communities. So May 14th, 9 to 5, at the end of this presentation, you'll see a screen that will have the website and information about Grow Charities event that you can go to if you would like to register, you and your team, for this amazing event. And I'll be moderating and hosting, so yeah, you'll get to see me all day. All right, so what are you going to learn today during this presentation? You're going to define holistic and workplace wellness. We're going to talk about the benefits of creating and cultivating a culture of wellness. We're going to identify components of creating a vibrant and healthy workplace culture. And we're going to list some activities that your organization can host or can encourage in order to cultivate a culture of wellness. So let's start with who we are as human beings. We're made up of essentially 3 parts: mind, body, and spirit, and they're all connected. Lots of times in the workplace, we are concerned a lot with the mind, right? Because it's the work that we do. That's a lot of what the talents, the skills. As an organization, we expect our employees, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? You know, how are you adding value to the organization? But an unhealthy body and an unhealthy spirit is going to affect the mind. You cannot have a mind that's well and an unhealthy body and an unhealthy spirit, and vice versa. They're all connected. And so it's important that as organizations, we look at the people that we serve, which include our employees, our volunteers, board members, a community, as a whole, as individuals, human beings that are made up of mind, body, and spirit. And you cannot create an environment of wellness if you are not tackling all 3 areas at once. Tackling just one area, having a fitness program at work, and staff are not well in the mind or not well in the spirit, defeats the whole purpose, right? So what is holistic wellness? So it's an approach to wellness, as I said before, that addresses the whole person. And the whole person means every aspect of a person's being. And this can include physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual, and financial health, because we know that financial health, right, can affect all the other parts of our wholeness. So holistic wellness captures every aspect of a person's life and who they are. So then what is workplace wellness? So workplace wellness is any health promotion activity or organizational policy designed to support healthy behavior in the workplace, as well as to improve health outcomes of employees, right? So when you think about workplace wellness, you're really not just looking at the employees being healthy while at work, because obviously it's impossible just to be healthy at work and not healthy in other areas of your life, right? So when you create a place of workplace wellness, you are actually connecting all the pieces of your employees' lives together, so that the idea of wellness becomes a lifestyle. It's not just something you do at work. It's not just something that this person may do in their personal life, but it flows throughout their entire being. Folks spend a lot of time at work. We spend at least 40 hours a week at work, at least. Some of us, way more than that. right? So at least 40 hours of our lives every week times 52 weeks a year, or 53 if it's a leap year, is spent at work, whether it's virtually or in person. So it's really important that the workplace environment be healthy because there's spillover from both sides, right? People are people. Folks may say, come to work and leave your personal problems at the door. Not a healthy working environment, right? We have to create working environments where we understand that the folks who are coming to work are coming as they are, like that space I created for folks who are coming to meetings. So they come as they are, and then we help guide them into what wellness looks like in the workplace. Obviously, you can't come to work with your personal problems and go off and tell everybody your business or behave in a certain way. We'll talk about how you can help folks be healthy at work when they come as who they are. So why should you care? I know that prior to COVID, this was one of the areas that when I worked with nonprofits, I was always amazed that there was not a lot of investment in employee wellness. There was lots of investment in training, getting people the skills they needed, upping folks' personal and professional development, but not a lot when it comes to wellness. So why should you care as an organization? First of all, there's reduced healthcare costs, right? When you have a wellness program and you make wellness a culture at your organization, you make wellness a lifestyle that staff can adopt, not just at work, but it will flow over into the other areas of their life. They actually become healthier human beings, right? 75% of healthcare spending is on preventable risks. So illnesses that folks can manage or not even get if they have a lifestyle of wellness. Reduce missed days of work. Every single year, businesses lose 1 trillion, not billion, not million, not 100,000. $1 trillion is lost every year in productivity because employees miss days of work because they are sick. Sick from preventable. Lots of times it's preventable illnesses. You have healthier employees, and healthier employees lead to increased productivity, as well as increased employee engagement. When folks feel good, think about it. When you feel good, right? When you feel healthy, when your body feels right and your mind feels right and your spirit is all aligned, there's just this energy that flows through you, right? There's this excitement. You're more productive. You get more done. I have found this in my own personal life, right? As someone who lives with mental illness, I find that when I'm aligned, when I'm doing the things that make me mentally, spiritually, and physically healthy, I can get more done in a short period of time, or my day is more productive. When I'm not taking care of myself, taking care of my mental health, taking care of my physical health, my spiritual health, even if it's just one of those I'm letting go, I'm letting kind of slide because I'm too busy or I'm too whatever, I have found in my own life that productivity goes down, procrastination increases, my stress level increases, right? So having a culture of wellness at work benefits the organization. It's not just an employee benefit. The people that you serve can get better service because you have healthier employees. All right, so how do we go about creating a culture of wellness? We'll start with a question for you. And I would like you, before we go any further, I forgot to mention, there are two areas that you can make comments. There's a chat and a Q&A. If you have a question, please post that question in the Q&A. If you post it in the chat, it's going to get lost because we are going to be looking in the Q&A tab for your questions. If you have questions, please put it in the Q&A. If you are answering a question that I'm asking during this training, please put it in the chat. That way we can differentiate between the two and things don't get lost in the sauce, and I can make sure that I answer as many questions as possible and we're seeing as many comments as possible. All right, so the question I want to ask you before we move into creating a culture of wellness, What do you think a culture of wellness at your organization would include? I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to think about this. And if you are doing things right now that cultivate wellness and your organization is committed to wellness and has already started some things, put that in the chat. Put what you're doing right now. If you're doing stuff right now, great. If your organization, if this is an area where you struggle or you haven't really started anything around really cultivating and creating a culture of wellness, what would you like to see? What do you think would need to be in place in order for your organization to create a culture of wellness? So I'll give 30 seconds and you can put your responses in the chat. All right, but 10 more seconds. And Kiera, if there's any comments, if you don't mind, just reading what they are.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
So Joshua Day has added to the chat: insurance, planned vacation time when the business is shut down or operates at a lower level, giving people a space to voice their thoughts and ways to see them implemented for the business within reason.
All right, good ones. Joshua, I'm gonna need you to stare at my presentation. All to my presentation, Joshua.
Wesley says, we have a culture of listening and gratitude.
Yes, yes. You'll be amazed how much how effective, how much difference just listening to your employees, what a difference that will make for them. So many are coming from places where they're not listened to. You may also be working with employees that represent the communities that you serve, and they are the invisible. You know, folks don't listen to them, their needs are not heard. And we know that hearing is a sense, right? So most of us can hear, but listening is a skill. And so absolutely listening, just listening, and creating a space where you will listen can really be a simple way to start to create that culture. All right, amazing. If anyone else thinks of anything else as we go along, please feel free to put it in the chat. And then any questions you have, please put it in the Q&A. All right. You cannot have a culture of wellness if the folks at the top, the leadership at the top, the captain of the ship, the folks who make the decisions are not committed to it. Creating a culture of wellness must start at the top. It's a top-down flow, right? The folks who set the expectations, the folks who set the tone for the organization, and that's from the board of directors on down. The commitment to this has to start at the top, and then it trickles down to the first level, to the C-suite, as I call them, then to the leadership, and then to the management, and to the frontline staff. There has to be a commitment from the top. Frontline staff, yes, absolutely can advocate for a culture of wellness, but that commitment is going to start from the top. So the first step to creating a culture of wellness is the leadership at the top have to understand the importance and the benefits of having a culture of wellness and begin to work with staff from all levels, not just your management staff, because your management staff and leadership team, even the middle level management folks, only see so much, right? There's only so much of what's happening on a day-to-day basis that you can see. They should be representation from every level of the staffing grid as this culture of wellness is being created. That's really important to have the voices. Everyone's voice needs to be represented in this process. So what does workplace culture look like? Now, we know that culture in itself, there's several components that make up culture, right? Values, socialization process, ceremonies and rites, and stories and language. The same set of components also exist in workplace culture. So what does that look like? What does workplace culture look like with these 4 components? All right, values. Those are the guiding principles that drives the organization's mission, right? So some of your values may be caring, it may be honesty, respect, responsibility, transparency. It may be diversity, equity, and inclusion. It may be hard work. It may be quality customer service, right? So your organization, every organization represented here, you have different values, but those values are part of creating this workplace culture. Socialization process. In culture, that happens, right, as not only in the home where parents are raising their kids and socializing them a certain way, but then they go to school. And there's a culture there. And then they start to go to college, there's a culture there. And then there's work, there's a culture there. And then we have overall what we may call, the culture of a particular community or a particular city or even a particular country, right? So we are socialized from the time that we are born to fit into a particular culture. Same concept for the workplace. So what does socialization, what does our process look like in the workplace? Onboarding and orientation. That is the most basic way that we socialize our employees. It's the way that we onboard new employees and orient them to who we are, the organization's values, ceremonies and rites, stories and language, right? Office sharing, right? Or do you have multiple people in the same cubicle, in the same office? And with that comes some courtesy, right? Some respect, some courtesies that need to be extended because you are sharing space. And what are those rules for sharing the space? What is a do and what is a don't? Open door policy. Do you have an open door policy? And some organizations don't. Some managers or leaders have a closed door policy, where you have to set an appointment to see me. That's what I call a closed door policy. An open door policy is my door is always open. Come and knock when you need me, and I will make myself available to you, right? So what is the access? What is the access the staff have to use? The open door policy can be a part of the socialization process. Lunch breaks. Do you encourage staff to take lunch breaks? Get it from their desk at this organization. When is your lunch break? We take our lunch breaks. We get it from our desk, and you have a space, whether indoor or outdoor, where your staff can get it from their desk and they can go and they can enjoy lunch. There is no work talk at lunch. If people are having lunch together, they are not talking about work. They're having lunch. They're decompressing. They're talking about anything else but work, right? And so what does your lunch breaks look like in your organization? And what are you providing so that the employees at your organization feel that lunch break is actually a part of their wellness? Well, lunch break is a non-negotiable. It's something that must happen. Buddy system. When someone starts at your organization, do you buddy them up with someone else? Is that part of the socialization process? So they kind of shadow someone who's in the same department or someone who has the same job description. Do they shadow them and follow them? Are they buddied up so this person can really get a one-on-one personal orientation to the organization? They can build bonds with not just this one person, but also with their team. Affinity groups. This is something that has become very popular at especially larger organizations. You form groups around the interest and the needs of the employees of the organizations, and the employees can join an affinity group that addresses, right, a particular issue or an interest. It might just be an interest affinity group, and it's all, it can be focused on the mission of the organization, or it can be focused on employee wellness, or it can be focused on employee personal development. And then social events. Do you have social events as a part of your organization's culture? What are they? When do they happen? Do you have annual events? What's the expectation from staff? What's the expectation of dress, right? How are folks supposed to show up to work? Do you have a dress code? Do you have a uniform? All these are part of socialization, the socialization process. Another part of socialization process is also consequences, right? So if you do X, what's our policy on why that will happen? That's a part of socialization as well. Ceremonies and rites can include a new employee orientation. What is your termination process? How does that work? What happens when someone is decided leading up to someone being terminated, but once you're terminated, what happens? Recognition. How do you recognize staff? Promotion. Is there a process for promotion? How does this process work? And then is there a celebration, some type of formal event that happens or informal that happens that recognizes a promotion? Special events, holiday celebrations. You may have a group of employees that are from different cultures and they celebrate holidays in different times. How are they celebrated? Do you make this a part of the rites and the ceremonies that happen at your organization where we celebrate holidays? And you can decide as an organization what those holidays are. And then meeting facilitation. How do those go? I just told you about my own rites, right? I write that I did when I start my meetings. I always start my meetings before we say go. I say good morning, and then all right, we're going to take a moment. We're going to quiet ourselves, and we're going to think of one thing in this moment for which you are grateful. Every single meeting, I did that right. Every single meeting. So folks knew after a while when Rachel facilitated a meeting, whether it's with my staff or it was with the leadership team, or I was asked to come and guest speak, that's how I started my meetings, right? Ceremonies and rites. And then lastly, stories and language. Are there acronyms that your organization uses? What's the history? How do we tell this history? Is it negative or positive? The ways the employees talk to each other, what is acceptable? Hostility, toxic working environment. What do you permit? What don't you permit? Marketing and promotion. How does the outside world, those who are outside the organization, what do they know about the organization? What is the story that you're telling? What is the story your staff are telling, your volunteers, the community is telling about you? Your reputation as an organization. And then public relations, right? So just as culture in itself has components that are important to building a strong and vibrant culture, and I've only covered 4, there are others, but for the sake of this workshop, I wanted to focus on these 4 because they are so very important as we talk about wellness in our organizations. All right, so creating the culture, what that culture is, where it starts, which is from the top, and what are some of the components that are gonna be needed in order to create this culture. So now we're gonna talk about cultivating, because remember I said it's not enough to create something. You have to take care of it. You have to feed it. You have to water it. You have to prune it. You have to give it some sunlight. You have to cultivate a culture of wellness, and it's not easy. Because you are not, as an organization, you may not meet everyone's need at once. And there are going to be times when, despite your best foot forward, there's someone that's going to feel left out, someone that's going to feel missed. But who was it who mentioned listening? Wesley mentioned the culture of listening. Right? So even at the times when, we missed the bar because someone felt left out, if you have listening as a part of your culture of wellness, that can be beneficial to that employee. Why? Because they feel validated. They feel like they are still a part of your team. They still feel valued because you are listening to what they've said, and not just listening to it, but effecting change based on what they've told you. All right, so let's talk about some ways that you can cultivate this culture of wellness. And I hope, I forgot to tell you guys before to make sure you have your pen and paper. You are going to get this recording so you can rewatch it. But I know that sometimes when you attend a workshop or training live, there are things that come to your mind immediately. And I want you to jot all these things down. And as we go through this section, I want you to reflect on your organization and take note of some of these components that, yes, we have these in place, like, and the ones are like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. Or we need to relook at that in our organization, right? Jot those notes down. So visually appealing work and relaxation spaces. Listen, that's important. They've done a whole lot of research around classrooms and classroom, from lighting to setup of the classroom, to the color of the walls, to the temperature in the room that is best for children to learn in. It is no different for adults. So the first thing that people see, the first thing they feel when they come in is how your space is set up. So creating a visually appealing work and relaxation spaces. Do you have spaces in the organization where staff can get up from their desk and say, I need a minute, or walk out of a meeting and say, I need a minute? And they can go to this area, and it doesn't have to be a big area. And in that area, you can have things that can assist staff with kind of, whew, all right, I need a minute. I need to get myself together. We used to do this in childcare with kids, right? So we didn't really, it was a timeout corner, but we didn't call it that. I forgot what we called it. But it was a space when kids are having a really rough day, or our friends were not listening to what was happening, and they needed kind of like a timeout. They didn't want to share. All right, let's take a little time out and let's get ourselves together here. And you sent them to an area that was set up that had things that they can do that kind of can help them get themselves together. So that's from journaling to coloring to they could put on some headphones and listen to music or listen to a book. Just all different types of stuff. You can have stress balls, you can have sensory things, right? Depending on what the needs of your employees are, you have this area. It doesn't have to be a big one, where staff can actually, I need a moment, right? Allowing that, normalizing, I need a moment, because that speaks to emotional intelligence, right? Which we'll talk about a little later. Emotional intelligence, understanding not just the way my own emotions and how I operate and how I'm feeling and what I need to process these emotions, but also being able to understand the emotions of others. But you have to start with giving staff the space for them to be able to have emotional management. Because the truth is, when you come from backgrounds of trauma like I did, your emotions can be extreme. And thank goodness, through years of therapy, I've been able to kind of learn some tools to manage that. But emotions can be extreme. And one of the things that has really worked for me is being able to step away and say, I need a minute. And having a supervisor that was okay and understood that. Like, okay. And sometimes it was so normal in the working environment that I was in. He would tell me, it looks like, Rachel, it looks like you need a minute. Like, I can see the triggers. I can see your legs shaking. I hear in your voice. I think you should take a minute, right? So normalizing this, taking a minute. I need a minute. Obvious signs of commitment to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Once again, I will say this, just like I did in the first training. DEI is not just something that you do. It is a lifestyle. It's a commitment that your organization is making. And with that commitment means that when I walk into an organization, I should see obvious signs that this organization values DEI, whether it's what I see on the wall, to the employees I see walking through the facilities, to how the content of the HR manual, to wellness programs, the type of positions, the pay, all those things, right? Obvious signs of commitment. Your website, your marketing materials, social media platforms. Do people know, everyone know, from employees to those you serve to the general public, do they know that your organization values wellness, values employee wellness, values client wellness, values volunteer wellness, values community wellness? Do they know this? In what they see you posting on your social media pages or in your marketing materials or on your website, right? Really important. And by the way, website design, the colors you choose, the layout, all that stuff, let me tell you, makes a difference as well.
It does. Joshua has a quick question. So
Okay.
DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All right, your HR policy. Let me tell you, some HR policies of organizations are antiquated. They are not relevant to the needs of the employees in our current workspace. The HR policy is twofold. The HR policy has policies that are to protect the organization and the employee. It's not a one-way street, right? So your HR policies on organizations' HR policies should be looked at minimum on an annual basis. Are the policies we have in place, are the verbiage that we're using, is it relevant? Is it beneficial to our employees? Good way to find it out is to ask them. Your attendance policy, your vacation, your missed day, how they apply. What are there any barriers that your HR policy is presenting to your employees? Are there any systemic racist practices that may not be overt, but they create barriers for certain of your employees that you need to look at and you need to revise? And the best way to do that is to ask your employees. Do a little work group and have folks go through the employee the HR policy in the handbook and see what are some policies that really are barriers. Okay, for example, we talk about, and this is something that COVID taught us, folks can be just as productive working from home or teleworking as they can be in the office, right? So we have attendance policies. You have to be at work at a certain time. Is the point that the work gets done? What is the point of a policy around arriving to work and when you can leave, or the 8 hours? Because let me tell you that I worked on projects, or I worked in spaces where I was done my work in 4 hours or 5 hours. And I would find things to do in the other 3 because I had to work 8 hours, right? Is that really healthy for employees? And I'm not saying don't have an 8-hour day or it shouldn't be 40 hours. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, what is the point of this? Is it that you want employees to get the work done and to get the work done well? Because that's very different than, no, you need to be sitting here, I'm paying you for 40 hours. You need to be just doing work, right? There's a difference between the two. So looking at your HR policies, your sick policy, right? Lots of sick policies had to be updated because of COVID, right? And the time that you can be out and getting tested and doctor's notes and privacies around that. Does your attendance policy or your lateness policy, does that unfairly affect single mothers who may be in your work in your organization? Amazing employees, but they're single parents. I shouldn't say single mothers, my bad. Single parents who may be in your organization who may not necessarily have that support system because they live in the community that you serve. So does your policy create additional barriers, additional stress for any particular staff or staff pool? Zero tolerance for toxic working environments, violent hate speech. That includes jokes. That includes sarcastic comments that are demeaning. That includes tone. A toxic working environment is actually a federal issue, right? Where there can be a federal lawsuit that's brought. And of course, there's stipulations around that. But a healthy working environment is a zero tolerance zone for toxicity, right? And you as an organization define what that is. I have some examples here. It can be violence, it can be hate speech, it can be certain jokes, it can be how you respond, it can be back and forth in emails. I learned very long ago, this whole back and forth in email, I'm not doing it. I'm going to get up and come to your desk. Instead of me getting all worked up over here because I'm reading what you're saying in a certain way that you may not even meant it. You know, get up and go to that person's desk. Is that the kind of working culture, healthy culture you're creating? Y'all don't do this back and forth stuff. Get up and go. This is you're on the same team. This is your teammate. Get up and go to their desk and say, hey, I just saw this email. Let's chat about it for a little bit. Right? Instead of going back and forth in email, back and forth in text, right? Downtime. Is downtime factored into the work plan for every project and meeting? If you're having a meeting that's more than 30 minutes, you need to have a break in that meeting. Especially if this meeting is virtual. Now, I know we're going to be on this training for 90 minutes, right? And we're going to go straight through and I'm going to give you moments to talk. So I'm kind of like, sort of not following my own rule, but that's okay. Don't do as I do as I say. So are you factoring downtime that your employee is going to need to take a breather when you work on projects? So when you look at a project timeline, have you worked in there that, all right, have you factored in? We're going to need 2 days of just, okay, let's take a break, y'all. As you work out that project timeline, that's important. The same thing for meeting. 5 minutes can make a big difference. I might give you all 5 minutes today. But 5 minutes of just, let's take a break, stretch your legs, go outside for some fresh air, go refresh your coffee, get some water, can make a huge difference. Downtime needs to be planned and factored into every work plan for every project and should be factored into meetings. Mental health days are encouraged. HR policies include sick time, vacation time, personal time, holidays. Mental health days are a thing and they are needed. I have a teenager who has anxiety and he gets mental health days. Now, of course, we know that anything can be abused and we're not talking about those extremes, right? And you do with those accordingly. But he knows when he's reached his capacity, he's like, Mom, I need a mental health day today. And it could be a weekend day or it could be a day off from school, right? But mental health days must be encouraged at your organization. And a mental health day does not mean that the person's not working. It could mean instead of coming into the office and driving into the office because I'm really having a rough time and having to deal with traffic, I want to work from home today, or I want to take half a day. Or folks, today, I'm having a rough time mentally, I'm here, I'm gonna do my work, but I'm gonna need y'all to really respect my space. If you need to see me, please send me an email, please just don't walk up on me because I don't got it today, right? Encouraging mental health days and encouraging folks to prioritize that your mental health is just as important as you completing this project, as you being physically well, as you being spiritually well, because we care about you holistically as a person. Is there available space for employees to play and be creative? You know what our problem is as adults? We stop playing. That's when life got complicated, didn't it? We stop playing. We talk about how important play is for children. It is no different for us as adults. So do you have jump ropes and hula hoops and squishy balls and bouncy things that staff can, and hammocks if you have that kind of space? But are you creating a space where employees can play? That can be part of the downtime. That can be part of their, look, I'm having a really rough time right now. This meeting was rough. I need to go jump some rope. I need to go hula hoop to some reggae or some hip hop or something. I need me a break, right? As well as be creative, whether it's journaling or creating something or painting or crafting or whatever the case may be. Are you creating spaces or are you creating normalcy around employees needing to play and needing to be creative and providing opportunities for that? Not just that, but if you have employees who are creative and who are playful and you're working on a project, have you built in those skills into how the project is going to be completed, right? Those skills and talents on your team are important. Use them. Do you have on-site wellness activities and services? I used to work at the Y. Now, we all know the Y is a gym, amazing facilities, swim, workout classes, Let me tell you something. When I was finished working, I had nothing left to go drive to some gym and work out. So having these options at work meant that during my lunch break, before I started my day or at the end of my day, it was right there. I did not have to do anything extra to access wellness and wellness services, right? I did not have to do extra to do that. And wellness services could be screening. You can do blood pressure. You can do testing for sugar testing. You can do a series of screenings and there are lots of health related organizations that will come to your organization once a month and do a screening for your employees, right there on site. Activities can include, events, walking. You have a walking event. You have a competition, a weight loss competition. There's organizations that have done the Biggest Loser competition at work. And so this healthy eating, preparing meals at home, reducing sugar and fast food was something they did as a group and as a collective, and there was a prize at the end, right? So having this available on site for your employees. We always talk about removing barriers for the communities that we serve. Removing barriers for our employees are just as important. Did we have something in the chat? Here, I see a chat.
No, that's me. Just big up and you.
Okay.
I think this is such a good conversation. So yeah, I'm really into this. So thank you for sharing. Like, yeah, that's good. That's a good point. So go ahead.
So wellness resources and support services. And resources could be online assessments that employees can take to measure their stress level. I have a Fitbit that I have, and the Fitbit I have to pay for it as an upgrade, but it can give me more information about my health. I could put it in there, but it gives me more options. Is that if your employees have a Fitbit, do you offer them reimbursement if they upgrade? So they have more access to information and online assessments. They even have workout plans on the Fitbit, right there on their wrist that they walk around with every day. Training programs, weekly wellness emails, sending out an email every Monday or every Wednesday that's around wellness and a tip and a strategy for for your employees to begin to normalize this lifestyle of wellness. Wellness is a lifestyle. It's not just something we do. It's a lifestyle. A top-down approach to wellness. Do we see the CEO practicing wellness? Do you see the CEO hula hooping and taking a break when he or she needs a minute? Do we see that happening at all levels of the organization? Leading by example, not just saying that we're about wellness, but being about wellness. And when you're being, that means you're present. You're present in the moment. You're present in the process. You're present in the commitment. You're not just doing it, right? And then training and coaching for managers and leaders. It's not just important that the CEO is all about wellness, for employees and I want to support. That needs to trickle down to the folks who manage others. So that at each level of the organization, there's a support system. There's training. If you're rolling out a wellness program for staff, it's all the leaders trained on it, so then they can go and coach and lead and manage and support the employees who are going to be participating in this program, right? So wellness is for everyone. It's an everyone thing, right? Also offering, if maybe it's online training. So maybe there's someone who wants to get, I don't know, what are some online trainings? I don't know. I'm going to use yoga. I know that yoga, you have to do some in person as well. So maybe a hybrid where there, someone who wants to become a yoga instructor. And that is something that the employees at your particular organization have expressed interest in it. And there's one or two people who are like, I would love to be able to serve my coworkers by offering yoga classes. Maybe it's once a week or yoga session or twice a week, but it's employees serving employees. That's empowering. and the organization invests in this, right? So you got to train and coach managers and leaders to be able to not only adopt, but implement consistently your culture of wellness. All right, so before we move on to wellness activities, are there any questions about anything that I've shared so far? Any questions or comments about anything that's crossed your mind? Anything that you're like, yeah, that sounds good. I agree, I disagree. Give you a couple seconds for anyone to post any questions or comments.
I like the idea of the leaders modeling the behavior, because you want your team to, you're not just saying this, right? You're not just supervising the yoga classes and, offering the Fitbits, but you're actually taking the classes with the team. You're not sitting in your office doing work while everyone else is bonding and
correct
stress, right? So I think that's really important, because as leaders, we get stuck sometimes in the work.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's also like being a parent, right? Because you're like, I got to take care of everybody. Y'all are good. Everybody's taken care of. But myself, like, can't do all the things, but I still have to get it done. I still have to take care of it. So taking that pressure off of leaders so that they are a part, and not having, I was talking to somebody about that urgency that doesn't really exist. It's a made up sense of, we got to do this right now, like 5 o'clock is but who made up those rules?
Right.
Why can't we just have fun and work on this together when we're finished? So there's different ways of thinking. So that was really good.
And part of wellness also, this is something that I learned through, over 2 decades of kind of being a leader and a manager of people, is you also have to know the time of day when you are most productive.
Yeah.
Some of us are morning people. Some of us come bloom in the afternoon, and some of us are night owls. And so as a manager, when you have this mixed bundle of people who may not be, some people are not morning person, that you have this, how do you structure the work so that people feel that they're being most productive? Because I would tell you this, if you're not a morning person, it takes a minute to get all warmed up in the mornings, right? The folks who are like, look, don't talk to me at 9 o'clock, come see me at 11. And the folks who work with them long enough know, don't go knock on Rachel's door. She needs her 2 hours. She checks her email. She does her voicemail. She gets her stuff ready for the day, but that's not the time to do work. So if you have folks on your team that are like this, why are you having a 9 o'clock meeting? How is that productive for the folks who are not morning people just because you are, right? And so once again, part of leadership is modeling to the people that we are serving. Because as a leader, when you're in nonprofit, you're a servant leader. And the first thing that you do is you're called to serve. And so the employees you're managing, you are serving them. And whenever you go to a restaurant, do they just serve you whatever? No, there's a menu. You order what you like. If you don't want onions on your steak, you tell them you don't want onions. And what does that waiter who's serving you do? He does his best to accommodate you within reason. Right? So as leaders, we have to even manage that on our team, and even for yourself. When are you most productive? So I'm most productive in the evening. So guess what Rachel does not do during the day? I don't write trainings. I don't plan. I don't brainstorm, because my brain hasn't woken up yet. But there are other things that I can do. I pick my son up from school. I may work, I'm a creative, so I may sew some things or craft some things or fill some orders or put together some boxes, right? So there are other things that I may do, other tasks I may do, but I know my brain is not on go in the morning. But as soon as 5, 6 o'clock comes, whoo! And what would have taken me 8 hours to complete, in 2, 3 hours, I'm done, because that is my productive time of day. So even when you look at wellness, how do staff work, right? And when you're creating a plan for them, a plan for a project, are you taking all those things into consideration? Rachel's not a morning person, so is there a way, if we're meeting every week, can we rotate where every other week we don't necessarily meet at 9 o'clock? because we know that it's a little tough for some of us to kind of get ourselves going, right? That's important. As Kieta said, these are all stories we have on our minds. Who said your meeting has to be at 9 o'clock? Who says your meeting has to be at 5 o'clock? Who says it can't be at noon or some other time, right? So really looking at your team and what is the most productive way for your team to work is really, really important. Focused on, you're supposed to be at work at 9 o'clock and you came in at 9:15, okay? But is this person finishing the tasks that are assigned to them for the day? Because there may be barriers that's getting them to work at 9:15. So you do one of two things. You change your start time to 9:30, right? So they're not late, they're coming to work on time. It's a 30-minute difference. But this person is productive who gets way before, by 2, 3 o'clock, this person has finished stuff on their to-do list, right? So really beginning to reimagine work and what work looks like and what productivity looks like and what wellness looks like in the workplace is really important. I think I see another comment.
Yes, Joshua says, when you are speaking on it has to start with the CEO, it made me think how I often think of others and try to give them space, but don't allow myself, the CEO, that space because I feel like people expect me to carry all the slack and adopt the if not me, then who mentality.
That is a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is so very true, Joshua. I am completely there with you. I am not the CEO of an organization, but I'm the board chair of a volunteer-based organization. And I'm also the founder. And I will tell you that is a cage that I've built for myself in the expectations I have of myself, and that really the grace that I extend to others, the way that I accommodate and show grace to others. I don't do it to myself. And it flows downward. So when I became stressed and overwhelmed, guess what? Not that I take it out, but my work productivity, my wellness is challenged. And so the folks on my team feel that, right? So it's really important. And we hear all the time, it's kind of cliche, you got to put your mask on first, right? Do that on the airline. You have to take care of yourself first, because as the head of an organization, as the captain of the ship, if you're not well, things cannot go well. Right? So you have to take care of yourself first, and you have to make that time. And one of the things my therapist told me, because I can be, because of my trauma, I can be, like I said, extreme. And one of the things she told me always to ask is, Rachel, when you think something, when I'm in those extreme emotions, what is the worst thing that can happen if this doesn't get done right now, or doesn't get done today, or you put it off for one more day? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Are you going to die? Is it called your skin going to change? Are you going to go to hell? Are you right? So I kind of have questions that I ask myself. And most of the time it's no. If I put it off for one more day and I send an email that says, look, guys, today I'm really overwhelmed. We need another 24 and 48 hours. Most of the time, we know we have emergencies and crunch stuff, but most of the time, we are the only ones who have this expectation of ourselves. The people around us, they're just like, no, you're good. You're good, sir. I mean, we know you work a lot. We're good, right? Or even not being able to delegate, thinking that we're the ones that have to fix everything and have solutions. So absolutely, you have to practice these things for yourself. And as you begin to practice these things for yourself, I guarantee you're going to see the shift. And you're going to inspire the folks that work with you. And I hate the for you, but the team that works with you, you're going to inspire them to do the same. And the boundaries are going to change. The way you look at wellness is going to change. And I would even wager to say that productivity would also change. So good point. All right. So what are some wellness activities in the last moments that we have? So for your organization, I want you to think about this, and you can jot it down. If you want to put it in the chat, you can. What are some wellness activities currently offered at your organization, if any? For any activity that you would consider to be wellness, just drop it in the chat, or you can just make a list. As well, so give like 30 seconds. All right. So I'm going to go to the next screen, which is going to have some of my recommended wellness activities that I want you to consider for your organization. If you already do some of these things, great. If not, these may be ideas as to where you can start. And I'm not going to go through all of them. This screen is I found some pictures that really reflected. It's just some simple things that you can do. At the bottom right-hand corner is my favorite one, Essential Oil Diffuser. I always had one at my desk, right? Because for me, being able, and I had lavender, and I had eucalyptus, and I had orange, because orange essential oil brightens you up, it wakes you up. And there are other essential oils that are helpful for different, if you want to relax, if you want to get your brain going, if you need to breathe because allergy season, right? So something as simple as an essential oil diffuser. Is it something that you can have available? Buy a few of them and have them available in a staff closet along with the oils. And if someone feels like, ooh, I need to breathe in some essential oils to kind of get me going, or having them bring their own. They also have ones that are much smaller than this. If you have a small working space, obviously you don't want 10 different essential oil diffusers going, which normally is never the case. Or do you keep one running in a particular area in a staff, the space that you've created for staff to be creative, or for them to come and have their moment? Do you have an essential oil diffuser going? Do you have an air purifier doing air purifier or air humidifier in the space going to kind of really create this space for folks? Kiera, you had I saw you unmute.
Oh, I just added lemongrass because that's my scent. I have that in my home, in my office, everywhere. But diffusers are also important because it reminds you to breathe. You know, sometimes we're very shallow when you are working, and our posture sometimes isn't what it should be. So it encourages you to sit up and take those really deep breaths so that you can be present in the space and just really try to give all of the oxygen that can be given to the work that is there.
Absolutely. And they have diffusers, they even have different lights. I like the blue light because, you know, different lights, blue light, green light, white light, red, your body responds differently to different types of lights. So you have diffusers that have different types of light as well. You have some diffusers who you can hook it up to play music, right, as well. So there's different types and kind of what does this team need. So that's one simple way we can begin to change and begin to cultivate this culture of wellness. Getting up and moving. So encouraging folks, don't sit at your desk for 8 hours. Right? Here is what research says. Every 30 minutes, stretch. See that young man in the middle stretching at his desk. Just stretch, some stretches that you can do at your desk. So that can be something that you do in a wellness Wednesday. Send out a little video of Kieta showing your staff the different type of stretches that they can do at their desks. Right? So if you work in a cubicle, getting up and walking up and down the hall. Right? Instead of sending an email, if it's something that doesn't need to be emailed, is this a question you're asking? Get up and walk to that person's cubicle or walk downstairs or upstairs to that person's office to ask them versus sitting at your desk, right? So movement. Offering opportunities for staff to do wellness together. So we see running. Maybe you have a staff running program and you run before work or you run after work, or it could be even during lunch that you run now. Unless you have a shower at your place, that may not be feasible during lunch, but I don't know. Different folks are different folks. But you may have a bathroom that has a shower and staff can, after they run, they can kind of go and, kind of wash some of that funkiness off. It may be on the weekends. It may be Saturday mornings. You have staff who live in the same area and they get together and they run together. Hiking, getting out in nature. Maryland is beautiful. Let me tell you something. This state, and I've been lots of places in Maryland, absolutely beautiful. The amount of green spaces that exist just within driving distance, even within Baltimore City, finding lawns, finding green spaces, go hiking, put out, go to the park and have lunch if you're near a park, right? So really Getting out into nature, inhaling, exhaling, walking through the woods. I don't do it at night, but during the day, it can be breezy, right? The plants are helping with oxygen, just the sounds, even if you're just walking and you're zoning everything out, but the sounds you are hearing, the crickets, the frogs, the leaves rustling, all those things can be very therapeutic. Sitting by water, right? Very therapeutic. Taking a moment in your day to just breathe, to close your eyes and inhale and exhale. Because let me tell you that as human beings and folks who are constantly moving, sometimes we forget to breathe. Many of us are not even breathing properly. I learned it about myself. And when I used to run cross country, that's when I learned that, oh my goodness, I was not breathing properly in everyday life. And now it's been years and I'm back to bad breathing, but we don't even fully maximize our breathing. So taking a moment in the day, if it's just that, go into the bathroom, closing the door, and being like, I don't want to end up on the first 48. So let me take a breath in and out. And just take a moment just to silence the thoughts. My therapist told me, look at those thoughts as though you're driving in a car. So you have them, you don't dwell on them, you just let them go, right? And so really taking those opportunities to say, whew, I need a minute. Having lunch together, encouraging staff to get together for lunch. If you have a staff lounge, the way you group the tables doesn't allow anyone to sit by themselves. Sit in little groups. It could be 2, it could be 4, it could be 3, but encouraging that, have lunch together, crack some jokes, talk about your weekend, what we're gonna do after work, tell them stories, right? What's going on in the political arena. You see the family in the bottom corner with the hula hoop, right? And so something as simple as putting hula hoop somewhere, and staff if they have enough space in their cubicle, they can be hula hooping while they're in a meeting, because you don't have to have your camera on, right? So you're hula hooping, or you have desks that folks can stand and work versus sitting and work. So you have those stand-up desks, the desk where there's no chair, you're just standing up and working, but hula hooping, jump ropes, right? And space where staff can kind of go and do that as well. What did I miss? Axe throwing. I have axe throwing on here as a team building activity, because let me tell you, my husband, son, and I went axe throwing, and my son wasn't too into it, but after the time we were done, let me tell you, this is one of the most amazing stress relieving activities I have done. Axe throwing. They have the rooms where you have to escape rooms. They have places where you go and you break things. You throw things out and you break them. Those can all be team building. They're out of the box, but they help you to relieve stress. And then you have a conversation. You always try to have someone who is trained in wellness, whether it's a mindset strategist or a mental health practitioner, you can partner that activity with conversations about managing your feelings, how to manage stress, the parts of your body that you feel this, all those conversations, right? And then next is journaling, right? Encourage your staff to journal. I used to encourage my staff to journal. Black and white notebook. Right now, every day, at the end of the day, and it could be before you leave work, it could be the first thing when you get home. Journal about your day and how you felt, and anything of note happens. Well, I told them to do this for 2 reasons. One, journaling is therapeutic, but we work in childcare sector where very litigious. Sometimes you would have lawsuits, and your brain only remembers so much. But even writing down an incident that happened helps you to let it go. You've written it down, now moving on. And then lastly, nothing wrong with happy hour. If your organization has no problem with having happy hours, whether it's on-site or off-site, there's nothing wrong with meeting with coworkers and going out for a happy hour and you getting 1 or 2 drinks, making sure people are drinking responsibly. But it really, that being able to congregate outside of work also helps to build the team, and also speaks to wellness, because your life is made up of 3 parts, and those 3 parts don't exist in just one little bubble. We're multifaceted. Some of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts, right? We all have different love languages, and there's actually around professional love languages. So the folks that you serve, what are their love language? The folks that you serve, or your team members, what are their love languages? And are you aware of that? And are you making sure that you are meeting that love language need at work, right? Because the way that we receive love and give love can be different. The way that we give and receive love with our children, with our husbands, with our significant others is very different than at work. But that love language for work still exists. So what is yours as a manager? And then what is your staff? And are you ensuring that those needs are being met holistically at work? All right, so that concludes the presentation for today. Any questions? Questions or comments? We have about 11 minutes. So does anyone have any questions or comments about the presentation today? Let's see.
No questions or comments. Thank you to the team. Great presentation. Definitely getting a diffuser. I actually added one more thing that I know for me is important when it comes to wellness is having a welcoming environment for family. And I know that COVID has kind of shifted that a bit, but at one point it was like children are seen and not heard, and you didn't feel professional if you talked about your family. But because that directly impacts your attitudes, your mood, having activities where the family can come out so they can kind of see those people that are pictures on your desk, but they actually exist. Like I have to take, my children places, and I might be late because there's a doctor's appointment, but it helps to connect and have a sense of community and work if you can really share all aspects of yourself.
Absolutely. And that goes back to even HR policies. Some of our HR policies present barriers to parents, right? To parents of small kids, especially, it prevents barriers to folks who may be caregivers for aging parents. So it goes back to even the written policies that we have, that we implement to hold folks accountable. Are they really, are we really looking at the diversity of our workforce? Are we looking at, are these policies equitable? Because sometimes it's not about equality, right? It's about equity. Are we ensuring that each person is getting what they need? Does this policy meet the need of our employees? Does it create any barriers for them? And if it does create barriers for them, how are we going to address it? And then inclusion. Are we really thinking about all the employees that we serve and make our policies and ensuring that they are included? Not just being a part of the process, but when we're writing the process, are we thinking about the members of our team and how this can impact them? And that's from the salaries to job descriptions to even expectations of experience. We recently see in Baltimore City that they've, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they've dropped for certain jobs. Is it no degree?
Yes, I've read that.
Right? Because there's people who have so much lived experience, so much work experience, so much life experience, and they don't necessarily have any formal schooling, but they have the skills, they have the knowledge, they have what we need to get the job done at a certain level. And some of what's missing can be training, can be that organization or that government agency bridging that gap, to fill in whatever the gap is meeting that gap, right? Because at the end of the day, what do we want? We want organizations that are serving people in an efficient way, with excellence, and we're getting the work done, right? So there are certain positions that absolutely is a degree creating barriers for folks who could work this job, and that is the only thing they don't have.
Yeah.
Right? So even that's important to look at.
So what I've added to the chat, if you would like to have more or additional questions, you can email assistance@bcyfund.org. Also, if you're working on your grant application and you need additional support, I've included the link to the one-to-one TA providers as a Calendly link. You just pick a time that you want to attend and you sign up. And if you enjoyed this workshop and you want to come to another workshop. There's an additional one on Thursday. What's the title of that workshop, Rachel?
Growing and leading your team.
Growing and leading your team. Yes, and please let your colleagues know to join. But there are also a few additional ones, some more grant writing ones and some program development ones available. And I've included the link to the bcyfund.org website. It'll take you directly to the Grassroots Fund link. So please share with colleagues, friends, others in community that might benefit from these offerings.
All right, thank you. You guys have an amazing, amazing Tuesday and enjoy the rest of your week. And hopefully I see some of you will be back again on Thursday, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you, Rachel.
Bye.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.